Welcome to the Copper State Marching Podcast, sponsored by the Arizona Marching Band Association, AZMBA. My name is Martin Hebda.
And I'm Aaron Vogel.
Today, we are going to discuss some strategies to maximize our marching productions with minimal funds.
Yeah, we get a chance to listen to Josh White, Ricardo Labourin, and Julie Trent from Santa Cruz Valley, Glendale, and Sierra Linda high schools. And we're really excited for you to hear their conversation about maximizing impact with minimal funds.
And before we jump right in, let's recognize our sponsors. AZMBA would like to thank our sponsors: Arizona Cardinals Football Club, The Band Shop, Bravgo Media, Encore Gifts, Forte Athletics, Instrumental Music Center, Mac Pack, Milano's Music, Music Celebrations International, Music for All, Pieces of Flair, Scoreboard Fundraising, Show Dots, Tide Dry Cleaners, and Yamaha. Thank you for supporting AZMBA. We are here today to discuss some strategies to maximize our marching productions with minimal funds. We welcome Ricardo Labourin, Josh White, and Julie Trent. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It's good to see you all. I hope you're enjoying your summer and you're getting some downtime. Aaron, we know that you're on a trip. Hope you're having a great trip, and thank you for being with us again here today. As we're talking about show design, there's always been a big concern about trying to get the most out of a production and how it just soaks up money and soaks up funds. And we want to maybe try and discuss a couple of options and things that we can do. And we wanted to bring you three on because you've had success doing this. Let's just go ahead and get started. There's a couple of big areas where I think that really pulls in a lot of funds. One of it is basically just the design of the show. When we're talking about the music and the drill and the choreography. And maybe we could just kind of start with that. For starters, let's just take the biggest piece. Let's take music. What are some of the strategies that we have found to try and get music for a show? Or maybe we could go even before that, like the concept or the design. How do we get that in a nice, affordable way?
Julie, I know you want to say something. Go for it.
Oh man. For me, it always starts with what's best for the kids. So really knowing who your students are and what they need, not necessarily maybe the fancy. I always feel like everybody's shows are so fancy, and I'm always looking for the music that I can use to teach the kids how to be better players and also to connect with the community. So just finding like that right match. And for me, a lot of times it's just a lot of listening and finding that music that matches the kids and, making sure it falls within the budget that we have. But mostly just like my trumpets this year, I was like, okay, if we could stay both fourth space E and below.
And that's just a smart design anyway, right? Trumpets don't need to be above the staff. I used to write, we're talking 20 years ago, because I had trumpets that could play high, and I would just write so many high notes. And it took me going to BOA competitions and hearing some of the greats. And I'm like, those trumpets don't go above a G until you get like that one punch, at the end of a chord. And it really changed a lot of my thoughts towards something, spoken like a true trumpet player, right?
Yeah, Julie, have you found certain composers or websites where you've been able to find, what are your go-to for listening? So when you're doing your first round of listenings to the show, are there some go-to composers or sites?
I always start listening in October, and I know that sounds crazy because that's the middle of marching band season. But I'm always listening when we're at shows to who's playing and what I'm enjoying, and I kind of just start there. So, if I hear Josh's band playing Night on Bald Mountain and it sounds super good, then I'm going to go check that out and figure out, hey, would that fit my group? And if not, why not? And is there something else in that same composer or site? I've seen Ricardo's band play a million different things and they all sound awesome. So same thing, just kind of starting in October, especially knowing who's going to be coming back the following year and trying to find a good match.
Yeah, that's awesome. And using the live recording, like how actual high schoolers sound on that, and not the beautified MIDI version with all the samples in there that sounds perfect on the website. That's cool. Ricardo, what do you do for music? Is that a big expense for your program too? And how do you handle that process?
Yeah, I'm really cheap. I go to about 4 different websites and then I find like what's on sale. Like I see like the $500 shows, the $800 shows, the $1,000 shows. Listen to those, and if I feel like my kids can get hyped on it, then I'll buy it. In our district, we're fortunate enough to our principals budget for our music for us. So we get a budget from the principals saying, "Hey, this is what you got to spend." But I always try to go low end when it comes to a show. Luckily, I've been really lucky the past 4 or 5 years to find shows that were under 1,000.
Josh, what are some of your tricks?
So this, I love hearing this because we are all very different, but we all produce a quality product. And I think this is tremendous. I am the JW Pepper stock guy. I thought I was doing wrong in the last few years by maybe square peg round holding, finding pieces I liked and finding a way to string them together in a show with published charts. But I've managed to do it successfully now for about 7 years. And funny enough, my drill writer, Robert Strunks, has said he appreciates that because he gets bored writing the ones that are all kind of similar now from these composers. Not that they're bad shows, they're tremendous shows. I really love them. So I've had to go outside the box. And like Ricardo said, you're being cheap at 1,000. I'm being cheap at under 500 for music. Now, granted, I'll talk about, I do get help in the other ways, and I'll talk about that. So, but like October, absolutely, Julie. That's where I'm sitting there listening to random things that I find. I like this piece. I like this piece. Oh, these could work together if I tie them together in this. Like for example, this year we're doing a Happy Holidays show, and it's using a Dev music arrangement of Winter from Colts in '93, written for marching band, and it plays really nice. And I'm really excited to do that, along with a couple other holiday time arrangements, Auld Lang Syne and a version of Deck the Hall. So we're going to go all embrace that theme based on those tunes. So that's kind of how I've been able to do it these last few years, and I've really enjoyed getting the challenge. And when my drill writer says he enjoys writing for this, that affirmed really neatly what I'm doing. So, but don't be afraid to publish charts and tweaking parts as you need to in them. I have to do that a lot, and that's okay.
And I think published charts is a very, very successful way to go. I know a lot of people that do that. Julie, definitely not early starting in October. Actually, for this year's show, we're getting ready to start. I had this concept in my head last July, August. So, I mean, and it takes time for things to marinate, which, I mean, I don't know about you, and Aaron, I'm sure you did this too. I had a document with just show concept, and I've just continually developed it. And usually I get to the point where we're getting ready to do a season and we're designing, and there's 2 or 3 that I think could be really successful. And then it's like, okay, what's going to be the best for this band and these players that I have? Julie, I think you were 100% correct when you said you think about what's going to be good for the students, what's going to be good for the people that are listening to our show, right? The football audience is an important aspect of that. You want to find something that's going to be good that the audience members and the families are going to enjoy and the students are going to enjoy as well. And then also, you want the judges to like that. But really, the judges, they want to see a good product, right? They want to see things that relate with each other, and they want to hear good music. They want to hear stuff that sounds good, that's played really well. The finding a concept, or, Julie, you find, okay, this is a song that I think really works well. And you're like, okay, what could that song be a part of? And you can get, piece a couple different designs. And then Josh, as you were saying, you go online, JW Pepper. Before you said that was on my list of things that I could mention, hey, this is a good thing that you could do.
Yeah, very cool. And Ricardo, I was taking away your comment where you said the principal has a budget for you. That is the best kind of money, the not my money type of thing. And I'm interested in that conversation from the 3 of you, and maybe even from the 4 of you. What, in terms of your budgeting, what does the school or site or district pay for? And then what do you have to pay for yourself? So yeah, music, staffing, transportation, and maybe just start with Ricardo on that. Can you give us a breakdown of who pays for what?
Yeah, so our district is really nice to us. In the past, we were on our own. In the past 5, 6 years, it's changed a lot. It's developed. So now, like, the principal budgets for our music and our drill. The district covers our transportation. They recently just bought us trailers for every school in the district, and a truck that is used by maintenance, but is also pulled by one of our district bus drivers that gets trained on how to pull trailers and stuff like that. So Yeah, we've been very fortunate in our district that we have these type of budgets that the district pays for it or the principal pays for it. Staffing, we have two stipends. Um, and then if we have more than 60 students, then we get a third stipend to hire instructors.
Cool. Julie, how about for your program?
Yeah, our district's really good to us too. They are very supportive. Our kids don't pay a fee at all. So, from some of the stuff is like from the program itself, like we have a shoe room. Shout out Dan Lindsay, who designed the band room. He wanted a shoe room with ventilation so band room didn't smell like feet. But a byproduct of that has been it's kind of like going bowling. You go to the bowling alley and you get the shoes that you need for that activity because who needs bowling shoes, right? So beyond like a Friday night or a Saturday, who needs a pair of marching band shoes? So we have a whole set of stuff in terms of like the supplies for the kids and what they need to go out and look good on the field. And then kind of like Ricardo was saying, the district, they provide all the transportation. They rent everybody a box truck for the season. District, like a bus driver will drive that truck as well. And then it kind of depends what you want to do. Like Ricardo and Josh were both saying about how much your money can go toward the music. We do get a music budget for the year, and if we want to spend more than that, then it's on each program to figure out where's that money coming from. At our school, our alumni are amazing. They're very faithful, and so they donate year after year. So the money's not coming out of the kids' pockets, and we're not fundraising to buy any part of the show. And then we do have, the stipend to pay. Some of the schools we have one assistant, some have two. It just kind of depends on your program, like Ricardo was saying regarding size. So my assistant is a science teacher at school who also was a band kid.
My district covers our transportation fully, it's funny because people ask me, why do you stay where you are so many years? Besides loving community and kids, that's a big part of it because I know some schools that's their biggest battle. And I'm truly grateful. They pay for our buses, even to go to football games, red football games as a small fan of the small community. That's neat. And as far as an equipment vehicle, they often pull seats from newer vans for us. And so we're able to put equipment in vans without seats removed. And it works pretty well. Box truck, if we have to rent, we will, but so far we haven't had to. We've been able to make it work between understorage on the bus using vans that way. As I get a set budget each year for music, repairs, and any random equipment items. I use a local music store here in Casa Grande, and I make that work, with what they give me. Anything over, like you said, Julie, that's coming out of our student activities. We don't have a separate parent booster account. We're not a 501c3, which has its pluses and minuses. The plus is you don't have parents saying this is what you have to do with money or trying to say that. The negative is you need something immediate. You can't always get it. But it's worked well over the years with our student activity account and doing that, and then fundraising we do as far as that goes. But the fact that the district covers transportation and those things goes a tremendously long way towards helping us be successful. Another simple thing, my daughter wanted me to mention this one who just graduated this year. She said, that one of the interesting things you do is t-shirts. You know how a lot of bands have their t-shirt for the show that year. We keep the same shirt year to year. That way, that's not an expense a student has to incur. We have new versions of it. Or newer, but we try to keep it the same for many years. And then even the alumni have it. Everybody has that shirt. And it's kind of neat how that means something in the community. And Julie, like you, we don't have a set fee you have to pay. There's just certain costs you have. If you're going to rent a school instrument, if you need this or that. On another budgetary note, shoes. Our uniforms are black, bibbers, with black stripe down the side. So I got tired of trying to fight shoe orders for a small band not being fulfilled and various things of that nature. So I tell the kids it just has to be an all black shoe that you are comfortable marching in, because from a distance you can't tell. And that way they're in a shoe that they're comfortable, they feel confident in, and the expense is on them, but in a way they want to be, and something they might actually wear elsewhere.
That's a great trick. And now the next time I see you, I'm going to look at that and be like, wow, check that out. That's because I had never known. And I've seen your groups from up close. I've seen your group from the track many a times. Do you, at your school, do you have a pay to play like through athletics for your program?
No.
Oh,
No.
that's good. That's something that I know a lot of schools do have at our school. We have that. I like that you're getting a lot of support from the administrators. One thing that I have found is they want to support, and sometimes they just don't know. They don't know what it is that you need, and they don't know like how often you need it, like whether it be for guard uniforms or for silks or things like that. I think a big thing to do is continually communicate with your administrators and let them know. I mean, this must have been 2002 or 2003. I sat down with an athletic director, and I've had more than a dozen, since then, and I discussed like coaches stipends for the band, and we created this really elaborate, plan for coaches stipends. Well, I mean, through budget cuts over the years and stuff like that, you end up losing some of those things as well. But it's I'm trying to get the school to think about it. This is the same as an athletic team coach, which I've been fortunate enough at Casa Grande that we do have the band on like that same track and level as the athletic program.
So, Ricardo, I was really interested by something that you said where over the past few years, your site and the district has gone and taken on more of the costs that were being shouldered by the kids and their families. That's a pretty remarkable thing, especially given current trends in education. How has that happened? Have you had to advocate, or have your parents advocated for that, or has that just been something that's been a naturally occurring part of the process?
So in our district, we have it. Since Derek took over the position of district athletic director, he's been very supportive of the arts, and so he's always asked us, "Hey, what do you guys need? How can we support you guys?" So we've been telling him for years, "Hey, this is what we need," and he's like, "All right, guys, I hear you guys. Just give me some time." And sure enough, every year it's been something new that he's like, "All right, hey, I got this for you guys. Hey, I got this for you guys." So he's been very awesome in the district. And then, I have a rocking principal at our school right now. Like, she is awesome. She is the best. I love her. She supports the band as much as she can. But in the past, the band would be charged. They would pay $20, like I said, class fee to just be in the band class. Before that, they used to collect what they call fair share by the boosters. The boosters would collect the fair share from the students. That was like $300, but that was like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. Now kids don't get charged at all because the district takes care of the kids, and the district says, hey, the band kids shouldn't be being charged anything by you guys. We'll supply everything. All you guys gotta do is teach, and so that's been their motto for the past 4 or 5 years. Hey, you don't have to do anything, just teach. That's all you gotta
That's
do.
awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially those financial, pay to plays or fees can be a barrier to a kid being in the program or not in the program. So it's amazing that your district and your athletic director, if I'm hearing that correctly, Derek, so a big shout out to him, is taking on those costs. Josh and Julie, are you finding a similar thing where, because kids are then paying in less than the district's picking some of that up?
All right. So in my case, I had a lot more at the beginning than I do now. I'm in my 20th year, entering my 21st year in Eloy at Santa Cruz Valley Union High School. And I had two instructors. I had a guard instructor, I had a music instructor, music marching assistant, and I had a percussion instructor. Well, 2008, 2009, tremendous budget cuts. Our school owed a lot of back money. Tremendous things happened. I learned how to write drill in those 7 years. I don't think I was great at it, but I learned how to write drill. And that was a good experience for me because I understood what I want, what I like, what I don't, and learned how to use Poware enough to use. Now, after 7 years, I was incredibly burned out of doing that, spending, Labor Day weekend. Okay, I got to work on my third song right now, or fourth song, or second song, and that was difficult. And so eventually, my district did put back for a drill writer. And what I do as far as I use RMS and Robert Strunk's. I use his package with guard choreography as well for the music I provide. So guard choreography is provided on video. And I don't have any instructors that are paid, a couple volunteers. And then I bring in a lot of local directors and things like that, younger, and have them watch the show. What are you hearing? What are you saying? Tell them things. I would always laugh when I would hear at certain conferences, you know which ones I'm talking about when I say this, where you'd have a director say, "Oh, I'm very particular about who I let in front of my band." Okay, that's lovely. But I found most people have something to offer. They're going to give a comment. They're going to give something in a certain way that says, "Oh, okay." And the students, and it clicks for them. So I have people watching what we do all the time. Sometimes just visual people who aren't even banned, but oh, that's not together. My wife is an expert at that. Oh, that's not together. They're not doing this. And I'm very auditory driven, not visual. So those things, using local directors, and have helped sustain without instructors. Guard video, tremendous. And then the onus is on the guard to actually learn the routine with my supervision and making sure they're hitting checkpoints.
Yeah, I can relate to like what Josh said a little bit ago about we have a good budget for repair and for like maintaining the instruments and buying different equipment throughout the year. But to tie back to what Ricardo said a few minutes ago is just like communicate and then be patient, right? So a lot of people want to help, but they don't know if they didn't grow up in band or if their child hasn't joined marching band in the last 20 years, right? So they don't know what they don't know. So just sharing more and more with whether it be the athletic director or the principal, or sometimes like we have a really supportive superintendent in our district, and it's awesome, but you have to talk, you have to have that conversation and then be patient, it like being a little kid in the family, you can ask for what you'd like to have, but you got to wait until mom and dad can save up to buy that fancy thing, whatever it is. And same thing as a band director, being patient with administrators because they're dealing with budgets and they're dealing with problems we're not dealing with. So being patient with those folks, but being thankful and going and saying thank you goes a long way. If somebody can get you one small thing, you saying thank you, and then the student who's using that equipment or getting to go to that activity, going back and saying thank you. And it's amazing when people see how appreciative the kids are, like how much more they're willing to support your program. And also say yes to things they need you to do on campus. When your band is invited to perform, they obviously want to hear you. And yes, that's going to be extra hours on a lot of people, these kids and their parents and whoever's giving them a ride, and then on us. But if we're part of the community, then the community wants to support us. So it's easy to build that like cooperation.
Such a big piece right there. That was, and a lot of times they ask you at the last second, right? Like, ooh, and we need a freshman first day is tomorrow. Can you get all the returners into play? Like being able to do that, they appreciate that. Josh, you had something?
Yeah, because I totally spaced the question, Aaron. Sorry about administrators in that aspect. Years ago, it was 2019, we did a pictures in an exhibition show. I had my principal, who is also a preacher, do the narration because I'm in Eloy, Arizona, where people don't have any idea who Mussorgsky is or what that's about or what we're doing out there. And so it worked out really well to have him narrate. I wrote the narration of what set up between. And I know judges didn't always love it because, it's too long narration. But I was thinking of my home fans, and I want them to know what this show is and what they're going to witness and how this translates. But his voice was tremendous. And from then on, we had a great relationship because I think he was happy we invited him to do that. So little things like that, if you can incorporate them into what you do.
Wow, what a way to get them invested. That was great work.
Yeah, the relationship building is totally key, and being patient. I think the kind of maybe not missing link, but something that I've certainly missed over the years is really try to figure out what's important to your principal. Like what are they really into? What drives them? What's important to them? And then see if you can sort of triangulate, your needs and your wants into their needs and their wants. So if they're a big athletic principal and they really like Friday night football is what it's all about, then be really into Friday night football, and then find ways that, hey, we need another podium so we can even be, bigger. We need to mic up the kids in the stands or whatever that is. Like try to find a way to fit it into their lens. And I like that idea of kind of involving the principal in your program in some way, or an administrator. Now that I'm on the flip side and I'm at the district level dealing with budgets and staffing and cuts and title funds and things like that, it's interesting to see how, my perceptions have changed. And I'll just give this one little story, which is we have a middle school band in our district. So their band room had risers, and it's going to be a flat floor now, which is awesome. So they're totally working that out. In order to make that happen, they needed to move all the instruments out of the room so that they could start the reno process. And being a small district, that meant that a lot of volunteers had to help. So I went to the band room. This is Julia George's band room. The business services staff went to the band room, and the CFO of the district, so this is like second to the superintendent of the district, chief financial officer, went and helped move instruments out. And in that process, we're moving out, timpani with wheels falling off, and a hand-me-down, vibraphone with, pieces of old, marching frames and other things falling off of it and things like that. And the CFO is like, hey, I think we need to buy some new instruments. It seems like this furniture could also be included in the bond. And sure enough, there's going to be, over $30,000 of new instruments that are going to go to that middle school now. And it's just because the CFO was there moving a broken timpani to another part of the building. So new timpani, new vibes, Glock, Xylo, a set of hand cymbals. Like we just threw some stuff on the bid, and it's going to work out. So you'd be surprised how just a little connection where they come in and see your setup might help. It's a possibility.
Yeah, so administrators seeing it firsthand instead of just getting an email from you really is helpful where that comes. We had a podcast where we brought in Scott Lane, and he talked about his leadership process with his students. And one of the things that he has his leaders do is do an interview around campus. And that's kind of a piece of being an advocate for the band. And that's a way for a lot of times for administrators to learn like, oh, wow, so you do need some new equipment and other things like that, just to get them to understand. And hearing it from students is actually a better way probably than hearing it from parents, because students usually do it maybe in a more a happier way. Something that I was thinking about as well, when we were talking about funds, I went to my principal several years ago, and I was telling him like we're starting to get a little bit of wear on some of our front ensemble equipment, and he found a way through Title IV funds, which is I think funds that come in that are for we're a Title I school, right? So as long as you can get some equipment, or you have the students playing it, or of the Title I students or something like that, like he was able to find a way. So we were on kind of like a 3 or 4 year track to get some new equipment in, which was great. Like he's like, I want to support you. And he called the district office, and he found a person that was really good for that. So if you're able to tap into some of that for some of the equipment needs that you need. Another thing that we work really hard on are tax credit funds. And something that we do is we have there's an accountant who had a student that went through our program, and he has a picture of the band, in his office, income tax season. He's like, well, you're going to owe $250 to the state, but you could write a check and I can drop it off, and this will go, and support this band. And it used to be like right when, the student graduated 5-6 years ago, he would come in with $12,000 worth of things, say, hey, this is stuff that I brought in. Of course, major thank yous go out to every single one of those people, but finding different ways to bring stuff in, that was very, very helpful for us.
Yeah, the Title IV thing can be really cool. That's the unit that Mark and I worked on when we were at the Department of Ed together. And Title IV, if your district has a Title I school, then you qualify for Title IV. So districts will get a Title IV allocation. And it's not based on the school. It's a district-wide allocation based on it follows the Title I. So it's completely separate, and you can fund stuff for music, for art, for PE, technology. It's kind of an anything else. So in our own district, we pay for stipends for PE, art, music. So those lead teachers who are doing that, we pay for our staff to go to professional development. So a Midwest or AMEA, and for our district, Midwest and AMEA, both this last year came out of Title IV. You can purchase new instruments. So we purchased a number of elementary instruments, ORF instruments and whatnot, using Title IV funds. So it is a cool missing link, which I didn't know about when I was in the classroom. And then that tax credit piece can be huge. So at Mountain Ridge, we did a letter writing campaign. So there was a stock letter that kids could then edit. And we had a big, stuffing party where kids were stuffing envelopes, doing the postage, sending them out. And that really paid a lot of dividends.
Josh, you had mentioned earlier bringing in individuals to critique and watch and help you with the band, and I think that's a really great idea. Even if they're not talking to the students, but if they're just sitting next to you and have your ear, because a lot of times as a director, you get the blinders on and you're focusing on different things. And when you get deep into the season, you have someone that sees it for the first time, and they have so many different. They see different things than you see. Also, if they've got a different specialty, you know what I mean? It's like, for me, big thing for me is I focus on the music, but you bring someone in that's maybe thinking more visually, or someone in for color guard, taking videos, sending it to people. Just say, hey, check this out. Other directors, you know what I mean? Like, even if you're in the same division as them, you know what I mean? Like, send it to them and say, hey, give me some feedback on this. It's a great tool. I think when we're doing the design process, kind of thinking about some of the different tools that we have for us as well. Like, we did the blueprint this year. I think that was a great way to just kind of throw some ideas out there and say, okay, what are some things that I can do for this? Getting other ideas in, really using Elevate as we have coming forward to get different tricks. You know, as the longer you're in this, the more tricks that you have. And I'm going to do a plug right here. I just finished reading it. We've got the Stephen Meyer book, the Rehearsing the Marching Band. There's a lot of good things in there. And as I was reading it at the beginning, I'm like, okay, I do that. And then you just find a pearl, right? And you're like, ooh, I'm going to try that. Ooh, I'm going to try this. And then he's got a whole bunch of resources at the end for actually doing the rehearsal process. Some things that I think would be really, really good to do there.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask all of you guys this question, because I used to bring in a lot of people to watch my bands, listen to my bands. Right now, it's a little difficult to bring a lot of people in because I think it cleared through the district and stuff like that. So it hasn't been happening much lately. But I do still send recordings to people. But here's my question. A lot of people are too scared to bring anyone out because they're afraid of what they're going to say about their program. So what would you tell those people of, like, hey, don't be scared? Or what would you say? Because I hear that a lot, like, oh no, like my band's not ready, or my group's not ready, or there's no way I would ring somebody out because they would just ring us. So what would you say to those people? Or what would you say, encouragement words or anything like that?
Your band will never be ready. Like, we're always working on getting it better. And, you know, there's always stuff to be working on. Aaron, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I'm interested in hearing Josh and Julie's thoughts, but yeah, I would say, yeah, bring them out. You know, they help you get ready. Yeah, Julie, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, invite your first person out, somebody you're a friend with, somebody who you maybe they're a mentor to you, or just invite your choir teacher to come out to the field. I mean, they've got ears too, and start with somebody who you know is going to be somebody you're comfortable talking to, and maybe even tell them, I'm worried about this, or I'm worried about that. You know, some of the things that you are afraid to show to another person, and that's why you're not bringing them. But just starting small. You know, 5 or 10 minute choir teacher comes to rehearsal, and then next time maybe another band director from the school next door, and then you find out, hey, this is working out. They're here to help. They're not here to be mean. And maybe also offering to go to your friend's rehearsal and seeing it from the other side, and noticing, like, when you go there, you're also there to help. Everyone's here to help kids get better.
Yeah, and you could even say to the person you're bringing out, hey, I want this commentary to me. You know, I'd like to filter it to my kids if that's something you're concerned about. Or sometimes, and Josh was saying this earlier, you know, just having someone come out and say the exact same thing that you've been saying for weeks, but it's not coming out of your mouth, it's coming out of someone else's mouth, and the kids are like, oh yeah, I should take a bigger breath, shouldn't I? You know, that's a great idea. Thank you, Mr. Clinician. You know, so yeah, bringing folks out. I'd be happy to come out to all of your programs, anyone listening, and be that person who can just give some gentle advice on what we're hearing. I think getting the kids out in public early and often is key too. That there's a motivator there about those performances. So for us, you know, we did a performance on the last day of band camp. Like, it was just here it is. This is what it is. And the kids then they get excited for that, and they start that prep work early. You know, if you're waiting until the final concert or until the final show of the season to get it right, then it's never going to be ready. So you got to get it out there real early.
I think any director that you bring in, they're in the exact same boat that you're in. They may be 2 weeks further along in the process, but they were there, and maybe they're going to come in and be like, wow, you're in great shape. One thing that I always would do is I'd bring in the local Central Arizona College director, and Josh, you've had him in as well with Rick Moore. I mean, for years he would always come in and very, very, very knowledgeable. But the thing is like he would come in early season and there's just a mountain worth of stuff that I know that we still need to work on, but he would say something and maybe it's something that you weren't thinking about. And always he had a great, like I remember one time he came in and he had just a very specific thing towards the sound or the mic or something like that from front ensemble. I mean, it's very, very helpful. And I think people like to come in and people like to give that feedback. I kind of want to move on if we're okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about maybe uniforms and costuming and some of the things that we do for that, if that feels good, because every single year we have a band uniform, but we do have guard silk maybe that we need to get. And we do have guard costumes, or maybe there's props and things like that. What are some tools that you've used to be successful in that?
I'll start off. So like I said before, I have a phenomenal principal. So I'm like, hey, we need this. And she's like, how much? I'm like, this much. And she's like, lower it. I'm like, okay. But she just buys what, if she has it in her budget, she's like, all right, let's get it. So when it comes to silks and uniforms, she's just been on it. And like I said, it's been awesome. Um, when it comes to props, I have the best theater teacher in the state. I don't care who you guys think you guys have in your schools. I have the best theater teacher in the state. And she's like, what do you guys need? Because she used to be in band in high school. So she's like, what do you need? What can we build for you guys? So last year, like we had the Night in the Graveyard. So she built us tombstones. She built us a coffin, a big coffin, and some gates, that everything that you saw on the field, like her kids and her built themselves in the shop. And all she said is like, hey, if you just buy us the materials, we'll build anything that you need. So that the cost effective was really huge there, because we didn't have to go to whatever company to build us these thousands of dollars worth of things. I only spent like $400 on wood, glue, and screws, and she literally built everything else and out of foam. So a lot of it was lightweight. The kids didn't have to carry too much stuff. So yeah, when it came to props, and next year's props are going to be done by our theater teacher and our kids as well. So yeah, that's how we do things.
Fantastic.
Amazon's been tremendous for guard uniforms. And I know that sounds silly, but what we do is we'll buy 2 or 3 things and model them out, just have one person model them and see what, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? And we've had tremendous success with that the last 4 or 5 years. And the cost is really quite low for that. And so that's how we've gotten guard costumes. One year we did a blue show, and so I bought these blue undershirts to go with our bibbers, and I got those on Amazon as well. And it was shades of blue, and that's how it worked out. And so, I mean, I had to get creative because the costs are down. Yes, I would love to support more of the actual marching uniform companies, but sometimes the budget just does not allow that. And so that's definitely a way I've gotten around it. As far as the uniforms themselves, ours are very old, but they're not ridiculously out of style. And we have an amazing lady in town who does our sewing for us. And we have the uniforms hem to fit each year. Just make sure you don't cut the material. And that works out really well with that. And also what I've started to do in recent years, because those uniforms were purchased at a time when the program was bigger, is as they have an issue, I just note the issue and wait. Don't fix it right away. That way you're rotating through your uniforms you have and getting those used. And some of those ones that haven't been used certain seasons get used, and there's more of a rotation that way. As far as props, I have a local gentleman who will build certain things I ask for. He's a welder, which is tremendous. So we've done a little bit with that, or fixing certain equipment issues, and that's been nice. But my main focus is always on marching playing first. So then it's kind of like, if we can work out these details easily, we will do those. But
so I've always been the person to call and say, can I borrow whatever. I mean, I've been doing that since back at Willow Canyon the whole time, my whole life. So the more I can like borrow and then share, I have a friend who's one of their students for their art seal project reached out to all the schools in the area and said, can I come by and take pictures of all the different silks you have, or like costume pieces that might be you could share. And so then there was like this Google Drive for a little bit that kid created. So it was like that person's project, which was helpful to everybody until everybody shared everything, and then it was in a different place. But that worked out really well. And then like in terms of like what Josh and Ricardo both mentioned, like knowing what programs are in your district. You know, like one of our schools has a welding program. One of our schools has a 3D printing program. One of our, you know, like all kinds of stuff. And then like our dance program has tons of costumes, and she's willing to share. Like that's super easy, and she's so good at it. Like she'll just come over, make the kids look good, and then we just get it all dry clean and give it back. So I rarely buy any of that stuff. And then we usually put out 2 or 3 backdrops, and those my dad and I got the product donated, and we just built it like however many years ago. And he comes in once a year and tightens all the bolts to make sure it's not going to crash. And
Love that.
yeah, I'm always borrowing and sharing.
Great.
Guard closet is tremendous, by the way, for silks. Guard closet, you know, I've used them to buy certain ones or certain, I can use this in the future. And I'm really pleased with what they've done, and they're easy to work with.
Yeah, every year there's thousands and thousands of programs that are purchasing brand new costumes, brand new props, brand new flags, brand new, you know, all the things. And they want to get rid of it. They want to either sell that you can get it at half cost typically for a used one, or you can say, hey, I noticed that you had this really nice kind of purpley shimmery flag in your show. Can I borrow it for 3 months? We'll give it right back. And I did that a bunch at Westwood. Like I would call Josh from Desert Vista and be like, hey, I love that flag. You had 30 of them out there. I only need 8. Can I have 10 of them? You know, and he's, of course. So yeah, people are happy to let you borrow.
And a lot of times we reuse things as well. Mercedes used to be a master when we would get into a new season. She's like, okay, I'm going to get one new silk, and then I'm going to take this other silk and then alter it this way to where it felt like a new silk as well. I am blessed with having the band parent of all band parents. Shout out to Nicole Hancock. She does the show dots, but I've had her for I think 12, maybe 14 years now. I've just had student after student. Her youngest is a freshman now, but she takes care of all uniform needs, and she also takes care of all prop needs. Like she is like the master. And when you talk about Amazon, for this last year, we did a show specific uniform where we didn't use our stock uniform, and we had each student that needed something different. She made it happen for us. So that is great. If you can get and the parents love to be involved with that. And she is so good. So I think if you're able to find that piece and tap into that. One thing that we did is we needed a kind of a stage thing for a show, and it was a very expensive thing, but we learned if you have a band parent that has a connection in Mexico, that you can get that made for like pennies on the dollar. So we were able to like just, say, hey, we need this material, and we had it made, and it was a great product. So sometimes finding some of those connections, ask your parents, I need fill in the blank. Can you help with this? That's a good thing. Another thing, if you need a prop, is doing a Amazon, like there's like an Amazon wish list where you can send a link out there, and the parents like, okay, I want to help, or an alumni, I want to help support what you need 18 trampolines. Well, I can purchase that. I can do, and little tiny trampoline, and they can help with that. Those are really good ways to do. But again, when it comes to props, sometimes less is more, right? We don't want to just throw things out there. And I think things started getting really, 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 really grand. I loved it. I think it was 2 years ago where Vanguard said, okay, we're doing 0 props. Was that two seasons ago?
Yeah.
I think we all loved it. And put on top of that, I don't know if anybody noticed, they said that the members had like slings on their back for the guard to put equipment. Did you guys see? Like, that was fabulous. That was incredible. I love that.
Yeah, the Vagabond show and coming out, they had shut down for a year.
Yeah.
So they wanted come out, be more cost effective. And yeah, the overall thing is what they did was really good. Like that excellence is the purest effect. So if whatever you're doing is really good, it can help. I like Martin's idea of kind of, putting it out there in Amazon wish list or, in props. If you are doing props, the wheels often are the most expensive thing. So getting no flat or pneumatic tires. And so we did a sponsor a wheel program. And so, you could sponsor one of the wheels on one of the props and got a significant portion of we got all the wheels funded, but it was a huge chunk of change that all then didn't come out of the budget, and then wasn't an ask that we had to ask from an administrator or from the parents, because everyone, bought a $50 wheel, or many people bought that. Well, I think we're coming to the end of our time together. We just started it here with Martin, but with some shout outs. And so we like to end our podcast with just some shout outs. And we've heard a number of them on the call, from principals to athletic directors. And so let's do a once around the horn and just have some shout outs to end our time together.
All right. First, I want to shout out my wife. She's the best supportive person I know. She supports me. She supports my kids. She's the band mom at our school. All my kids love her. I want to shout out my principal. I already did, but I want to shout out my AD, both Derek and Lenny, who's our new AD at our school, who's been very great and supportive at our district and our school. I want to shout out Anthony Julian, who teaches guitar at our school, but he's also helping out a lot with the band program last year in the high school. And I want to shout out anyone who's ever helped me out before, ever. Like, whether it's like, hey, I need this, can you help me out with it? And they give it to me, or they, listen to my band and tell me that I'm not sucking as much as I think I am. So, anyone that's ever came out, thank you.
I said him a minute ago, but shout out to my parents. They are my number one supporter. They've been band parents for longer than all these other band parents have been parents. So they're just amazing. Shout out to my band teacher, Miss Mahoney, for teaching me to play the trumpet. If it weren't for her, I would not be doing band. So it's pretty awesome. And then, like Ricardo was saying, anybody who's ever been helpful, there's so many names. So I'll just leave it at Mom, Dad, and Miss Mahoney.
All right. For my shout outs, shout out to my family, of course, because as you all know, this life is crazy. Crazy as a band director. Things change and all the time, and they have to roll with that, but they've been tremendous supporters of me. And it's been neat to be able to teach my own daughters in high school. One is now going into her sophomore year. She's a tuba player and euphonium player. And then my oldest just graduated as a flag. So I'm thrilled with that. And she's a percussionist also. Jermaine Carrero and Jeff Carson, my elementary and high school music teachers, were tremendous for me. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't have wanted to get into this if it weren't for them. And Martin was my student teacher mentor, and I'm truly grateful to him for that. I've learned so much from him over the years, and I'm glad that we have a friendship and that we bounce things off each other and are there for each other. And I shout out to those who respond to emails promptly, because some don't. and I had directors who taught me you do that, and so I'm truly grateful to them. And if you know me, I try to do that as well. So thank you.
Well, a big shout out to all of you. Thank you for coming on. I think this was a great conversation. Best of luck to everybody as we're nearing the season and we're hitting band camps and we're hopefully hitting all that in stride. A reminder to everybody that we have Elevate, sponsored by Cut Time. That's going to be here on August 22nd. Make sure that you're coming to that. Make sure you're telling your instructional staff and your boosters. We've got a lot of tracks out for that. That's going to be an exciting time as well. And you know that you can always email us at podcast@azmba.org. Thank you for listening and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.